When the Maid's amazing truth was revealed, hearts changed and the real inventor was exposed. Maria's hands trembled as she caught a glimpse of the glowing prototype on the workshop table. The air around her buzzed with the relentless hum of machinery, and yet, time slowed in that moment. This was not just a tool, it was a piece of her family's history, a testament to her grandmother's strength and the very essence of resilience that had coursed through their veins for generations. As a single mother working as a maid in a world that often dismissed her, she felt the weight of dreams resting on her shoulders, but in that instant, hope flickered like fireflies in the warm summer night. Every morning, the sun rose over the small Midwestern town, casting gentle rays on houses boarded up from economic strain. Maria drove her daughter, Sophia, to school, exchanging weary smiles with neighbors like Mr. Johnson, who once found pride in his cornfields but now stared at the weeds that overtook them. Time and again, the people of the town turned up their noses at the likes of her. Just a maid, they'd say, as if her job stripped her of value. Yet, she knew the labor it took to care for their homes, to dust away the neglect, while dreaming of a better life for Sophia, a life where the only struggle was choosing what flavor of ice cream to scoop. One day, with its sterile walls and cold laughter, the tech startup felt even more suffocating. Her coworkers gossiped about apps as if they could erase their pasts. With every condescending remark, her heart ached a little more. But as she brushed dust from that bright prototype, memories of her grandmother's teachings rushed back, lessons of farming, nurturing, and loving the land. It transformed from just a device into a beacon of hope for Maria's neighbors, including Mr. Johnson, but just as she gathered her thoughts to speak up, the higher-ups stormed into the room, swooping in with their polished shoes and overconfidence. The air went thick with an uncomfortable silence. Maria felt the customary sting of insignificance as they claimed ownership of her spark of inspiration, dismissing her like a whisper lost in the wind. The harsh truth hit her hard: this divide in their town wasn't merely economic, it was a deep-rooted prejudice, sidelining voices like hers. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when all seemed lost, Mr. Johnson became her unexpected ally. He felt their shared histories intertwining, igniting a spark of hope. He rallied the community, drawing attention to Maria's brilliance, the ingenuity behind the creation that promised to save local farms. But Maria wrestled with a tempest of emotions. If she exposed the truth, she risked losing her already fragile job. Fear wrapped around her heart like ivy, squeezing tightly. At the heart of it all stood a town hall meeting, where emotions flared, and the air buzzed with anticipation. Maria stepped up to the microphone, every eye staring at her, and her breathing quickened. Would they listen? Would they finally see her for who she really is? Time seemed suspended as she prepared to reveal the truth that could liberate not only herself but her entire community from their chains of indifference. The weight of the moment pressed against her chest, leaving everyone breathless and eager for the course of events yet to unfold. What would happen when the truth unraveled? Would the town rise to meet her honesty, or would they turn their backs, reinforcing centuries of bias and disdain? Maria's heart raced as she stood in front of the crowd, the microphone feeling heavier than she imagined. The townsfolk filled the hall, their eyes a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Would they finally see her? Would they truly understand the power behind her creation? This was her chance, a chance to reclaim her story and advocate for change. She started, her voice trembling, forcing herself to breathe deeply. I'm not just a maid. I'm a mother, a creator, and a member of this community. My grandmother taught me the value of hard work and innovation. She never let anyone define her worth. She glanced at Mr. Johnson, who nodded encouragingly from the back. As she spoke, fragments of memories danced in her mind, her grandmother recounting tales of growing up on a farm, the smell of fresh earth beneath her hands, the pride in the family's ability to cultivate hope even when the world felt against them. It ignited a fire within Maria, banishing the shadows of doubt creeping up on her. I invented the prototype to help our farmers fight against the decay of our traditions, to restore the land my grandmother loved. It's not just another machine, it represents a future we can build together. Her voice grew stronger, filling the room with a mixture of passion and vulnerability, but instead of clapping hands or cheers, she felt the dark weight of skepticism drift through the air like a storm cloud. Whispers spread like wildfire, and Maria's resolve wavered. People were shifting, some crossing their arms, others whispering among themselves. Why should we believe her? Someone murmured, loud enough for her to hear. Just another ploy to get attention. Caught off guard, Maria looked around, searching for kindness, validation, anything to help wipe away the doubts festering in the room. She could almost feel the collective eyes narrowing, the town's history pressing against her like a tangible entity, suffocating her dreams, but then her gaze fell upon Sophia in the audience, her sweet little face glimmering with innocent belief. It was enough to pull Maria back from the brink. A deep breath filled with renewed determination surged through her. I'm here today not just for myself, but for all of us, she continued, her tone gaining momentum. If we unite, if we believe in each other, we can make this town flourish again. We can transform our struggles into strength, and we can change the narrative. Finally, the tension broke. Mr. Johnson stood and erupted in applause, his hands coming together for a loud, resonating cheer. One by one, others joined in, some with reluctant hands at first, but soon growing into a unanimous wave of support. Maria felt a swell of hope as her heart pounded wildly in her chest. The crowd around her transformed into a sea of enthusiastic faces, lighting up as her words ignited a long-buried desire for change. But amidst the applause, a dark voice suddenly cut through. The CEO of the tech company she worked for stepped forward, arms folded defiantly. "Don't be fooled," he called out, his voice sharp and condescending. "This prototype doesn't belong to a maid." The cheers faltered as his words landed like stone on water, sending ripples through the crowd. Maria's pulse quickened, and it felt like the world was echoing with uncertainty. Would they allow someone else to rob her of her voice yet again? Panic washed over her as she stared at the CEO, but then she looked back to Sophia, who was watching her with wide, trusting eyes. Maria realized she didn't just have to fight for herself, she had to fight for her daughter, for her community. The truth was hers to tell. And rallying her strength, Maria prepared to challenge the man who threatened her future and everything they had built together. The confrontation loomed ahead, and she knew she had to be ready. The stakes were high, but the stakes were always high when it came to finding her voice. Would Maria find the strength to stand up against the forces that sought to silence her? What truths lay buried that would finally bring light to her story? The words hung in the air, thick with tension. Maria's heart raced faster, hammering against her chest like a prisoner desperate for freedom. She could feel the heat of the crowd's gaze, their mixed reactions swirling around her. The CEO's voice rang through her mind, a dark echo in a room that had just begun to glow with newfound hope. "Tell us, Maria, who do you think you are?" He taunted, his smirk cutting into her confidence. "What makes you think you can stand up here and claim this invention as your own? There are rules in this industry and you're breaking them." She straightened her spine, defiance building in her veins. "I'm not breaking the rules, I'm rewriting them," Maria shouted, her voice trembling with determination. "I'm speaking the truth about who I am and what this project represents for us all. This isn't just a machine. It's a lifeline." A few heads nodded hesitantly, slowly warming to her words. Maybe they were beginning to see the woman before them, the wolf hiding among sheep, longing to be heard. "So what if I've cleaned the floors and washed the dishes? That doesn't discount my potential or the value of my ideas." Maria pressed on, her voice gaining strength. "Every moment spent in service taught me resilience. I learned what it means to lift others up, and now I'm asking you to rise with me." Mr. Johnson clapped loudly again, his support cutting through the CEO's menace. Several others in the audience began to murmur amongst themselves, unease bubbling as they shifted their perspectives. "Yeah. She's right," a voice shouted from the back. "We've watched her work hard. She deserves this." The energy in the room crackled with a blend of hope and anger. Maria felt a spark ignite within her as the tide began to turn. If she could just push a little further, maybe she could shatter the wall of doubt that enveloped them. But then, the CEO stepped closer, his eyes narrowing like a hawk circling prey. "You need to understand the stakes," he warned, his fingers rubbing together. "You think your little invention could compete with my firm? Our research and resources dwarf anything you could dream of. I've got connections, I could crush this fantasy before it even starts." Maria stood up taller, her hands gripping the edges of the podium. "You may have connections, but I have something you'll never understand, community." She swept her gaze across the audience, taking in the faces of her friends, former neighbors, the farmers she had visited. "You can't buy the trust of a town that's ready to believe in a better future. You can't silence the voices of those who want to change." A ripple of emotion floated through the room, the crowd buzzing with awareness and shifting energy. Maria could feel the once still air ignite, transforming from anxious whispers into murmurings of excitement and solidarity. This moment was theirs, and they were fighting for something bigger than themselves. The CEO stepped back, visibly rattled, eyes darting around at the crowd's mounting support. But deep down, Maria knew he was only just beginning. With her heart pounding, she focused on the audience again. "I'm not asking for your blind faith. I'm asking for you to see the truth in our struggle. Together, we can make this work. Let us lift each other up instead of tearing each other down. Our town can thrive." The cheers began anew, louder, more alive than before. But just as Maria felt the swell of triumph, she noticed a figure lurking in the back, one she hadn't seen before. Eyes embedded with intrigue and determination. Who were they? And why did they matter? As the applause thundered around her, Maria knew the battle wasn't over. Who was this mysterious onlooker, and what role would they play in this unfolding story of bravery and truth? Her pulse quickened at the thought, ready to unravel yet another layer in this fight for her voice. As the echoes of applause rang in her ears, Maria caught the stranger's gaze. There was something familiar about the way they observed her, a mix of curiosity and recognition that made her stomach flutter. She wanted to pull away, to dive back into her speech, but the presence of the figure anchored her attention. With the crowd still buzzing, Maria took a step back, uncertain. Her words had ignited a fire, but the presence of the stranger felt like a reminder of another storm brewing beneath her victory. Sensing the crowd was still with her, she addressed them once more, her voice firm. "This moment isn't just about me. It's about all of you. Our dreams. Our lives." The stranger shifted, their expression unreadable. Maria wanted to know them, to understand what connection they had to this moment. A part of her felt as if they carried a secret that could either bolster her fight or cool the fire she had lit. "Let us not forget," the CEO interjected, recovering his composure, "that hope alone doesn't change the market. We need proven results. This isn't a playground for fantasies." His dismissiveness dripped with sarcasm, causing murmurs to ripple through the room once more. Maria's heart sank, but a woman in the front row stood up, her face flushed with a mixture of anger and empowerment. "Don't listen to him. Maria's shown us that dreams are worth fighting for. We're ready to support her. Are you with me?" Her rallying cry electrified the crowd again, and they erupted in cheers, fists punching the air in solidarity. But amid this uproar, Maria felt a pull from the shadows. "Who are you?" she whispered under her breath, eyes still locked on the figure. They shook their heads slightly, as if to say it wasn't the right time. But the urgency in their eyes contradicted the calm they tried to project. Waving to quiet the crowd, Maria returned her focus to the audience. We can't let anyone define what we're capable of. But inside, doubt twisted like a vine. The fight ahead felt monumental. Could her voice carry against the industry giants? From behind the stranger stepped a man clad in an unassuming black jacket, his demeanor confident yet nonchalant. He didn't belong there. Instinct told her he was someone of importance, perhaps even a player in this game of invention and entrepreneurship. Maria felt her chest constrict. Were they a potential ally? Or a new threat? With heightened tension in the air, she hesitated. Should she confront this new presence? Or stay focused on the audience united behind her? A surge of words bubbled up, but before she could speak, the man caught her eye, nodding just slightly. It was a signal, a challenge. He wanted her to engage. And in that moment, a split-second decision became clear. Who are you? Maria called out, her words strong and unwavering, forcing the crowd's attention toward the man who observed her intently. What do you want from us? Gasps mingled with whispers. Silence draped over the room, heavy enough to stifle a scream. The mysterious man's lips curved into a small, knowing smile, and with that, the entire gathering held its breath, as if anticipating a revelation that would change everything. What truth lay behind that enigmatic smile? And would Maria's destiny intertwine with this stranger's, transforming the path she thought was hers alone? The crowd awaited with bated breath, and so did she, as the moment thickened with possibilities. The silence in the room hummed with tension. Maria felt her heart pounding in her chest, each beat echoing the uncertainty that hung in the air. The eyes of the crowd were glued to her, and she could feel the weight of their hopes pressing down on her. There was power in their collective gaze, but with it came an avalanche of questions. The man stepped closer, his confidence seeming to fill the space. His smile softened, yet the intensity in his eyes was anything but gentle. You have something special, Maria, he said, his voice low but resonant. You've sparked more than a speech, you've ignited a movement. Her pulse quickened. Movement? Was that what this was? She'd come here to share her vision, her dreams, not to lead some revolution. But the electricity in the air suggested something far larger was at play. And you? Who are you to speak of movements? Maria challenged, trying to hold on to her authority, even as panic began to creep in. He tilted his head, considering her words. I'm just a humble observer for now, he replied with playful sarcasm. But I can help you amplify that fire you've started. Maria's breath hitched. Amplify? She scanned the crowd again. They were leaning in, hungry for more. And what's the catch? She pressed. Deep down, she knew that nothing came without a price, especially in a world that valued cold hard numbers over dreams and passion. Nothing you can't handle, the stranger replied smoothly. Just a little collaboration could take you further than you imagine. There are forces at play here that you haven't even begun to understand. A flicker of doubt played in her mind. Would teaming up with him lead to success, or would it lead her down a path paved with broken promises? People like you, they come and go. What makes you different? Maria's voice trembled but held its ground. He chuckled softly. That's exactly the kind of spirit I appreciate. But I have something different to offer. An insight into the very foundation of this industry. Just then, the buzz of the crowd escalated again as the CEO regained his footing. This is nonsense. We're not here for theatrics. We need actionable plans, not fairy tales. Anger bubbled in her chest, but Maria met his challenge with fiery resolve. And what better action than inspiring the people to own their future? Her voice rang out, clear and unwavering. We are more than statistics on a slide. Together, we can create something real. The applause grew louder, drowning out the CEO's protests. But Maria felt the thread between her and the stranger tightening. What do you really know? She asked him softly, though her voice remained firm. He stepped closer, the crowd still roaring with encouragement behind her. It's not just about you, Maria. It's about what you represent. You'll need to decide if you're ready for what comes next. His gaze locked onto hers, and suddenly all those doubts faded into the background. A revelation dawned. She wasn't alone. She had the power to shift the course of her own destiny. What if I choose to stand on my own? She questioned, his eyes sparkled with admiration. Then I respect that choice. But remember, the offer stands. Together, we could change everything. And before any true answer escaped her lips, he turned, melting into the shadows, leaving only a whisper of his presence behind. The crowd's roar filled the sanctuary once more, but Maria was left in a whirlwind of possibilities and questions. The stakes were rising, and she could feel the horizon moving closer. What would her answer be? As she scanned the sea of faces, determination ignited within her. This was only the beginning. But the real question lingered, could she handle the truth of her own potential? The stage was set for an unprecedented battle, one involving not just her, but the whole community rallying around a shared dream. And it wouldn't be easy. With the knowledge that decisions would lead them down unforeseen paths, Maria took a deep breath, but a shadow lurked at the edge of her newfound resolve. Would she find clarity in the midst of chaos, or would doubt spiral back in when tested? The moment she stepped back, every eye still focused on her, Maria made a vow to herself. She would uncover the truth whatever it might be and face whatever storms lay ahead. The applause began to dwindle, leaving a trail of whispers floating in the air. Maria gazed out across the gathered faces, a mixture of admiration and concern reflected back at her. She could feel the pressure mounting on her shoulders. They believed in her. She could not let them down. The atmosphere began to shift as she turned towards the podium, the microphone still humming from her electrifying speech. What now? She asked herself silently. The energy of the crowd had surged, but her heart still trembled with uncertainty. Would she be able to guide them, or would she falter, just like the CEO had claimed? Suddenly a sharp voice broke through the murmur. You've made your point, but what's your plan? It was Karen, another influential figure in the community. Her hands were on her hips, brow furrowed with skepticism. You can't just inspire people. We need concrete steps, or this is just a dream. Maria felt a surge of frustration. The last thing she wanted to do was outline a detailed roadmap while her heart still raced from the encouragement she'd just received. But that spark of discontent among the crowd was like a fuse ready to ignite. I understand, she managed to say, but isn't there power in believing together first? We can build a plan after we have that unity. Don't you feel it? A skeptical murmur floated through the room, but some nodded, hesitant yet curious. A flicker of hope sparked in her chest. Maybe unity could lead to tangible action. Maybe this was the moment to unleash their collective strength, but doubts lingered in her mind as she scanned the crowd for the stranger. Where had he gone? He had seen something in her that she was still trying to discover. Could he be the key to unlocking the power she needed? Or would he lead her toward more disappointments? Maria. A voice broke through her thoughts again, snapping her back to the present. It was Jonah, a close friend and grassroots activist who had stood by her side from the beginning. What if we brainstorm? We can identify local issues to tackle first. The idea lit her up. She couldn't do this alone, and neither could the community. They had to rally together. Yes, she exclaimed, her voice ringing with conviction. Let us create forums. Let us gather everyone's ideas and build our vision from the ground up. The group began buzzing with excitement, and Maria felt the warmth of possibility flooding back. In this together, she shouted, raising her fists in the air. Laughter erupted, and some began to stand, their spirits buoyed by the energy of the moment, but amidst their enthusiasm, a dark cloud hovered over her heart. What if all of this led nowhere? What if their gathered dreams shattered under the weight of reality? She closed her eyes momentarily, feeling the burden of her unresolved doubts creep back. Just then, as if reading her thoughts, Karen stepped forward again. "I'll join you, but I need assurances. I've invested too much to simply follow a whimsical idea." There was a challenge in her tone, and Maria understood the magnitude of that request. The truth was, she had no promises to offer, only the belief that together, they could try. "I can't promise we'll succeed," Maria answered, driven by the pressure inside her. "But I can promise to fight with you. Through every difficult moment, I'll be there." The silence that followed felt charged, hanging in the air as if everyone was weighing her sincerity. Finally, Karen nodded, and the tension in the room eased. But as the crowd began to disperse, Maria caught sight of the shadow again, a glimpse of the stranger just outside the door. Her heart raced with both curiosity and dread. Did he hear her? Was he still interested in her fate? And what did he know about the potential that had just sparked in her? The pull of the unknown was undeniable, but reaching out might be dangerous. Was she willing to step into that uncertainty? The moment felt pivotal, balancing on the edge of choices not yet made, with shadows stretching beyond the walls and the promises of tomorrow weaving in and out of her mind. Maria took a deep breath. She would learn what the stranger knew. And with that thought, resolve steeled within her. But would she uncover truths that could unite them all, or would her quest lead to more chaos? There was still so much left to explore, and all paths seemed tangled. What awaited her in the shadows? She was ready to find out. Maria stepped away from the ebbing crowd, her heart throbbing with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The stranger lingered at the door, his figure partially obscured by the fading light. She needed to know who he was, what he represented, and why he had been drawn to her. This was a chance to unveil something crucial, not just for herself but for everyone who was counting on her. "Excuse me," she said to Jonah, who had been discussing ideas with a couple of others nearby. He paused and looked at her, worry flickering in his eyes. "I'll be right back. I need to talk to someone." He nodded, and she moved towards the door, the energy in the room fading behind her like a distant whisper. With each step, her resolve grew stronger, but uncertainty lurked around her like an old friend. What if I'm making a mistake? The stranger was standing under the dim light, his back to her, his posture relaxed yet purposeful. Maria hesitated, swallowing her doubts. "Excuse me," she said softly, and he turned, revealing a face that was both striking and familiar. It rang a bell in the back of her mind, though she couldn't place it. "Maria." He spoke her name with a calm authority, as if they were two long-lost allies. Something about him radiated a warmth she couldn't ignore, but there was also an intensity in his gaze that made her heart skip a beat. I'm glad to see you," she managed, suddenly feeling the weight of the moment crash down around her. "I noticed you in the crowd during my speech. You seemed interested." A faint smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. "I was. You have something special, something these people need." He stepped closer, the tension between them palpable. "But there's more to this than mere inspiration, isn't there?" She felt her cheeks flush. "What do you mean?" "I left something important behind," he said, his voice lowering conspiratorially. "Your future, and theirs, hinges on what I have to show you. But it won't be easy. You must be willing to take a risk." Her curiosity piqued. Could he hold the keys to the answers she sought? "What do you have to show me?" she asked, her heart racing in anticipation. "Follow me," he replied, his eyes sparkling with intrigue. Maria hesitated. The idea of stepping into the unknown, of trusting this stranger, shook her. But deep down, she felt a pull, a whisper that urged her forward. She glanced back at Jonah, who was still engaged with the group, before turning back to the stranger. "Okay," she said, a rush of adrenaline flooding her system. "Lead the way." He stepped into the shadows, and Maria followed, her breath trembling at the thought of what she might discover. They moved through the side entrance of the building, into a quiet alleyway. The cold air hit her like a splash of water, sharpening her senses. "Here," he said, stopping beside a nondescript van parked at the curb. "Get in." Maria regarded the van with a mix of anticipation and doubt. Was she really ready to enter this new chapter? But the uncertainty flickered away as she thought of her community, of the hope she had just ignited in that room. "What's inside?" she asked, scanning his face for reassurance. "Something that could change everything," he said softly, the truth hanging heavy in the air between them. She took a deep breath and opened the door, feeling the weight of destiny settle on her shoulders. As she climbed in, her heart raced. What revelation awaited her in this strange vehicle, and what truths might she uncover that could either bind her community together or shatter her dreams completely? As Maria slid into the van, the door shut behind her with a solid thud, cutting off the world outside. The interior was dimly lit, filled with the smell of leather and something else, anticipation. The stranger climbed in after her, taking the seat across from her. His presence felt magnetic, drawing her in as if they shared a secret. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his tone serious yet inviting. Maria nodded, trying to keep her voice steady. "I think so. Just tell me what I need to know." He leaned in slightly, the atmosphere shifting. "You've been chosen, Maria. You have the potential to lead your people, but first, you need to understand your origins." He paused, gauging her reaction. "There are truths about your family, your past, that are intertwined with what you're trying to accomplish now." Her stomach twisted. "What do you mean? What do you know about my family?" Memories of childhood conversations flashed in her mind, stories half remembered, whispers that felt just beyond reach. "Your grandmother," he began, his voice lowering, "was a woman of great influence. She believed in the power of community, much like you do. But there were things she never revealed, choices that impacted not just her life but yours too. The hope she carried lives on through you, but it needs to be awakened." Every word he spoke seemed to unearth buried feelings within her. Maria's heart pounded. What happened to her? "She made sacrifices for the greater good," he continued, his eyes burning with a mix of intensity and sorrow. "But those sacrifices came with a price, and now, part of that load has fallen on you. You need to confront it." Maria leaned back against the cold van seat, overwhelmed. "What do I have to confront? I've worked so hard to rally everyone and bring hope to my community. Is that not enough?" The stranger reached into the bag beside him, pulling out an old, tattered book. It had a faded cover, and she could see her grandmother's name written in delicate, cursive script along the spine. "This is your legacy. Inside this book are truths and stories that will guide you. They're not just history, they are keys that will unlock the strength your community needs. But..." He paused, fixing her with a piercing gaze, "you have to be willing to face the scars of the past. It won't be easy." Maria felt the weight of the book as he handed it to her. Her fingers brushed against the fragile pages, and she was surprised by how familiar it felt. She could almost hear her grandmother's voice echoing in her mind. "I need to know the truth," she said, her voice firm despite the knot in her throat that he nodded approvingly. "Then we start now." As she opened the book, the van's interior seemed to pulse with energy. The pages whispered tales of love, loss, and resilience. Stories of a community once kept safe by secrets spun in family gatherings and starlit nights. Yet, there were pages where darkness seeped through, warnings of betrayal, of choices that led to consequences too painful to ignore. With every word she read, a new awareness flooded her senses. "But there are people in my community who will resist this. They don't want the past to define us." "Maybe not," he replied gently, "but denying it will only weaken the bond you share. It's time to rewrite that narrative. You'll need allies, ones who are ready to embrace the truth." Maria felt a spark ignite in her chest. She could almost see Jonah, standing with her at the forefront of this. I believe in the change we can create together, she said, her voice stronger now. Then prepare yourself for the unveiling, Maria. You're about to enter a fight that will redefine everything. One that might threaten not just your dreams, but your very identity. Her heartbeat quickened, but this wasn't a moment of fear, it was an awakening. I'm ready, she declared, but as they sat there, lost in the weight of her family's history, a chilling thought crept back in. What if the truth wasn't just painful but dangerous? What if those who wished to keep it hidden were already closing in? The van rumbled to life, and with it, her journey into the unknown had only just begun. She held tightly to the book, sensing that the real battle was just on the horizon. What awaited them as they stepped into the night? The van jolted as it hit a bump in the road, shaking Maria from her thoughts. Her heart raced, a chaotic mix of excitement and dread swirling within her. The stranger's presence felt more pronounced now, his intensity amplifying the uncertainty that filled the tight space. Where are we going? She finally asked, breaking the silence that enveloped them. To meet someone who can help you understand, he replied, his voice steady. Someone who has known your family for years. She bit her lip, her mind racing. Will they have answers? Will they know about the truth in this book? Yes, and more, he assured her, his eyes glinting with a hint of something hope, perhaps? But remember, every truth comes with a choice, Maria. You have to be ready to act. The world outside the van blurred past, lights flickering like fireflies in the dark. Maria looked down at the book resting on her lap, the leather cool beneath her fingers. Each tale she had just read felt like a thread tied to her heart, but could she really unravel it all? What would this person reveal? As they rounded a corner, the van slowed, coming to a stop in front of a small, unassuming building tucked between two larger storefronts. It looked worn but welcoming, with its warm yellow glow spilling out into the night. Here we are, the stranger said, his tone now a mixture of encouragement and caution. Maria stepped out, taking a deep breath. The air was crisp, invigorating. This felt like a turning point, but what lay ahead remained a mystery. She followed the stranger up the cracked pavement, each step echoing in the still night. As they entered, the scent of herbs and spices wafted through the air, instantly making her feel grounded. The interior was cozy, filled with bubbling pots and warm lighting. An elderly woman stood behind the counter, her silver hair tied back in a bun, eyes twinkling with wisdom. Ah, Maria, she smiled, recognizing her immediately. You've finally come to ask the questions. How do you know my name? Maria asked, surprise spilling over her words. Who are you? I am someone who has watched over your family for generations, the woman replied, her gaze steady and kind. I know the burden you carry. The stories in that book aren't mere words, they're pathways to your true self. Maria felt a rush of familiarity with this woman. I need to understand them, the sacrifices, the struggles. What was it that my grandmother did? The woman gestured for Maria to sit at a small wooden table, the atmosphere around them thickening with anticipation. Those tales weave a tapestry, dear. A tapestry of love and loss, but also of strength. Your grandmother faced challenges that would have broken most, yet she stood tall for her people. Her actions have reshaped families, including yours. As she spoke, Maria couldn't shake the feeling of being on the verge of something monumental. But what if those actions come with a price? What if people will blame me? The woman leaned in, her expression softening. Every choice carries weight, Maria. But remember, you are not alone in this. There are allies waiting, ones who will rise with you. Maria swallowed hard, the stranger's earlier warning reverberating in her mind. Then the woman's eyes grew serious. You must be prepared. Some truths will shatter illusions you've held, but they will lead to a strength you never knew you had. Maria felt the weight of the world settle on her shoulders, but she also felt a flicker of fire igniting within her. I'm ready, she told the woman, more for herself than anyone else. I need to know. I have to face whatever it is. Very well, the woman whispered, a nod of respect passing between them. Then let us begin this journey together. As they sat close, the candlelight flickering between them, Maria wondered if she was ready for the revelations to come. Could she truly embrace the past and forge a new path? But another chilling thought slid in, dark and foreboding. What if those who wanted to keep her family's truth hidden were lurking closer than she imagined? With a deep breath, she opened the book again, calmed by the fire that now flickered in her heart. The night had just begun, and Maria felt the shift within her. Whatever awaited, she would face it head-on. As the flames danced in the cozy room, Maria felt the warmth seep into her bones, igniting her resolve. The old woman's presence was like a guiding star, grounding her amidst uncertainty. Let us explore your grandmother's legacy, the woman said softly, opening the faded book before them. The words breathed life, stories of triumph and despair cascading over the pages. Maria leaned closer, her fingers tracing the delicate curves of letters. She read about how her grandmother fought for the land, bringing neighbors together, rallying them in times of drought and despair. Tears began to shimmer in her eyes. For years, Maria thought her struggles were solitary, bound to the weight of her identity as a maid. But this was a revelation. She was part of something bigger. Her strength flows through you, the woman remarked, catching Maria's eye. But your journey transcends her. You must find your own path, face your fears, and confront those who wish to drown your voice. Maria's heart raced. Could she really stand against those who threatened to silence her? She thought of the CEO, the smirk on his face, dismissing both her and her dreams. But then she also remembered the applause, the community rallying behind her. I'm ready, she said firmly, her voice quivering with a mix of fear and determination. What must I do? It starts with a choice, the woman replied, a smile playing on her lips. You need to gather your allies. People who see the potential you've ignited and are ready to support you in this fight. But first, you must confront your past and accept the truth you've inherited. With every word, Maria felt a powerful current flowing through her. I need to show everyone who I am and what I'm capable of. But how? The woman leaned in closer, her eyes sparkling with wisdom. You'll return to that town hall, but this time, you'll do it your way. Speak your truth and share your grandmother's story. Show them the legacy they've overlooked. Maria's heart pulsed with excitement and resolve. Faint images flickered in her mind, her grandmother standing strong amidst adversity. With newfound purpose, Maria nodded. I'll do it. I'll reveal the truth and fight for our community. As they spoke, the shadows in the room seemed to dance in anticipation, ready for the next chapter. With the book resting on her lap, Maria turned to the woman. Will you help me? Always, the woman replied, fingers clasping Maria's hand in solidarity. You have everything you need inside you, you just have to believe it. It was time to embrace this truth. The past and the present intertwined, crafting the future. Maria felt invincible, ready to shatter the chains of silence that had held her back. With the promise of dawn on the horizon, they stepped outside into the crisp night air. The van stood waiting, but this time it felt like a vessel carrying her into the light. They drove steadily, Maria's heart racing as their destination grew closer. Arriving at the town hall, the air thrummed with anticipation. Maria climbed out, her feet planted firm on the ground, preparing herself for the arms of support that awaited. The community gathered, their faces illuminated with glimmers of hope and recognition. Together, the woman whispered, stepping back into the shadows. Maria stepped onto the stage, the microphone trembled slightly but her voice rang out, clear and unwavering. I'm here today not just as Maria, the maid. I am Maria, a daughter of this town, fueled by the legacy of my grandmother. Gasps echoed in the hall, eyes widening as whispers spread. She could see the disbelief slowly replaced by understanding, her words weaving through the hearts of the townsfolk. I stand before you not to ask for your forgiveness or approval but to invite you into this journey. My grandmother taught me about resilience, about community, and about dreams. She raised the book high, its pages fluttering in the breeze. Her truth is our truth. Together, we can revive this town. Suddenly, Mr. Johnson's voice rang out, "We believe in you, Maria." The crowd erupted in applause, the energy palpable as their support washed over her like a blanket, but then, a familiar figure emerged from the back, the CEO, arms crossed, a smirk plastered across his face. What does this naive young woman think she can accomplish? He sneered, but the power of Maria's words filled the room, resonating within each member of the community. I am not naive, I am ready to lead us to change. You may have tried to bury my voice, but now it rises like a tide. The crowd surged behind her, hands raised in unity, faces glowing with determination. We're with you. They shouted, the chorus lifting her spirit higher. In that moment, Maria realized this was the transformation she had sought all along, a rebirth of not just her story, but the community's story. The fear that once gripped her now fueled her courage, the CEO's arrogance cracked under the weight of their collective will. Maria took a deep breath, one last look at the crowd she was determined to empower. It's time for a new narrative, a narrative filled with strength, hope, and unity. With that, she felt a shift, both within herself and in the room. The air swirled with energy, alive with possibility. And as the night transitioned into dawn, Maria embraced the light around her, her heart swelling with the promise of all that was yet to come. Together, we will rise. She cried out, her voice echoing triumphantly in the sky above. And in that moment, Maria wrote her own story, wrapping the past and future into one, stepping boldly into the life she was destined to lead. So, what are you waiting for? Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. This is the moment to stand with us. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us create a movement together.